Imagine trying to orchestrate like the absolute perfect romantic evening.
Oh boy.
Okay, so you have the lighting just right, the music is playing softly, the meal is,
It's like who's
spectacular.
in the mood.
Exactly. But what if the ambient temperature of the room is off by exactly 2 degrees?
Oh wow.
Or if the doorway to the dining room is literally a single millimeter too wide.
Yeah, that would be incredibly frustrating.
The entire date is immediately canceled. Just boom. The biological imperative entirely shuts down.
That is quite the deal breaker.
It really is. But that level of extreme, uncompromising selectiveness, that is the daily reality of trying to convince a pair of Apistogramma fish to breed.
Yeah.
Welcome to the deep dive, everyone. Glad you're joining us today because we are exploring this incredibly meticulous, really high-stakes waiting game of conditioning these specific, very complex squid.
It really is a massive waiting game.
It is. We're looking at exactly what it takes to unlock some of the most stubborn biological triggers in nature.
And it's an undertaking that requires a complete paradigm shift,
Uh-huh.
You are no longer just keeping a pet or maintaining a glass box of water.
Right.
You basically have to become a micromanager, an architect, a biochemist, and like a behavioral psychologist all at once.
That's a lot of hats for a fish tank.
It is, because these fish have evolved to reproduce only when the conditions are absolutely flawless. The margin for error is essentially zero.
Wow. Zero margin.
Exactly. We are dealing with millions of years of evolutionary fail-safes designed to prevent them from bringing offspring into a world that just can't support them.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because the journey to getting these fish to spawn starts long before you start messing with the water or the habitat.
Yep. It starts with the fish themselves.
Right, the physical readiness. You have to build the foundational energy required for reproduction. And in the specific case we're analyzing today, the keeper starts this deliberate waiting game by making a very calculated shift in their diet.
A very intentional shift.
Exactly. They move from feeding the fish once a day to feeding them twice a day, and specifically using these high-quality pellets. And the physical transformation that follows is it's immediate and dramatic.
Oh, the visual indicators are undeniable. When you increase that caloric intake with premium protein, the fish don't just look healthier.
Right.
Their entire physiological state shifts gears. The male, in particular, undergoes this massive aesthetic transformation.
I mean, we're talking a serious makeover.
Totally. Within just 2 weeks, on this accelerated high-quality feeding schedule, his coloration fundamentally changes.
Yeah, the sources mention these iridescent blues and greens that start glowing with a startling, almost neon intensity.
Exactly.
It's the ultimate carb loading and glow-up phase.
Okay.
You feed them better, and suddenly the male is swimming around in this custom luminescent tuxedo.
That's a great way to put it.
And it's a direct biological cause and effect, right?
Yeah.
Improved nutrition directly fuels this intense iridescent display. And that display isn't just for show.
No, not at all.
It's the catalyst for the actual courtship behavior. We start seeing actual dance rituals.
Yeah, the behavioral shift is fascinating to observe. You have the male displaying his newly vibrant colors, flaring his fins to maximize his visual footprint.
Really showing off.
Oh, absolutely showing off. And the female responds. She begins shaking her body in a very specific, rhythmic way, coupled with this intense tail-beating behavior.
Okay, but we have to look at what this diet shift is actually accomplishing beneath the surface, right?
Right, because from an ecological perspective, this double feeding schedule isn't just about giving them more vitamins.
So what is it doing?
It is a simulated environmental signal.
Because in the wild, fish don't just eat high-quality pellets twice a day on a schedule.
Precisely. In their natural habitat, food availability fluctuates wildly based on the season.
Makes sense.
So a sudden, sustained abundance of high-quality food signals to the fish's ancient biological hard drive that the environment is currently rich enough to support not just them, but a whole brood of hungry fry.
Okay, so the fish metabolize that extra energy. Exactly. The male invests it into those glowing, iridescent displays to physically prove his vitality and genetic worth.
Spot on.
And the female responds because her instincts are telling her, hey, the time might be right.
Exactly.
You are literally feeding them into the mood by tricking them into thinking they've hit the seasonal jackpot.
It's an environmental hack.
But here is the central friction of this entire process. You can have all these perfect physical signals. The male is glowing like a neon sign.
Yep.
The female is doing the body shaking and the rhythmic tail beating. They're clearly bonding, but they stop right there.
Yeah, they hit a wall.
The female absolutely refuses to lead the male toward a spawning cave. They're doing all the flirting, but they're completely unwilling to commit to the actual act of spawning.
Which tells us that physiological readiness and behavioral bonding are really only the first hurdles.
They have the metabolic energy,
They have the biological desire.
but they are evaluating the venue and finding it completely unacceptable.
Exactly. If the biological engine is primed and ready, the bottleneck must be their physical environment.
Which brings us to the real estate requirements of the Apistogramma. And honestly, this is the part of the process that had me staring at the ceiling for a while.
It's pretty wild.
These fish are notoriously picky about the size of their cave entrances. If they aren't spawning, the keeper has to step in and strictly evaluate the artificial cave entrance.
Manually adjusting it.
Yeah, adjusting it to roughly 2 to 3 centimeters. But it's not just a matter of making sure they fit.
No, not at all.
Here is the absolute non-negotiable rule. The entrance must be large enough for the female to squeeze through, but small enough that the male actively struggles to get inside.
It's a brilliantly engineered biological filter.
Wait, I have to push back on this
Up for it.
because it sounds completely backwards to me. How does a fish even measure a millimeter tolerance?
Instinct.
And more importantly, why would evolution favor a deliberate physical struggle at the entrance of a nest?
That's the real question.
Like, imagine designing a home for your family, and you intentionally make the front door so small that your partner has to wedge their shoulders in and fight to get through the frame.
It sounds terrible.
It feels like a massive design flaw.
It does sound like a flaw, yeah. Until you look at it strictly from the perspective of survival.
Okay, break that down for me.
We have to picture the Amazon basin where these fish originate. It is an incredibly hostile environment for a microscopic, newly hatched fish.
Just predators everywhere.
Exactly. You have massive catfish, predatory tetras, larger cichlids, an entire ecosystem looking for a free meal.
Right.
The female is about to lay her eggs in a static, entirely vulnerable location. She cannot move them once they are laid.
So they are stuck there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Therefore, that location must be an absolute fortress.
Ah.
Oh,
Okay, so she isn't just looking for a mate. She's auditioning a bouncer.
that is a highly accurate way to frame it. I love that.
A bouncer for the fry.
Yes. Because Apistogramma males are typically much larger and have significantly more elaborate finnage than the females. The female's instinct to measure the cave entrance against the male's body size is a genius evolutionary proxy.
Meaning if he can swim in effortlessly.
The door is too wide, which means a larger, more dangerous predator can easily slip in and consume her entire genetic future.
Oh, wow. The struggle is the actual security system.
Exactly.
The fact that he has to fight to get in proves to her that nothing bigger than him will ever breach that cave.
It is an anatomical Goldilocks zone.
That is fascinating.
If the entrance is too tight, the male cannot get in at all, meaning he cannot fertilize the eggs and the reproductive cycle fails.
Right.
But if it's too loose, the predators get in and the cycle fails.
Yeah.
That precise 2 to 3 centimeter window is the exact razor-thin intersection of reproductive accessibility and maximum security.
That makes total sense ecologically, but the human element of trying to recreate this in a glass box is just staggering.
It's exhausting just thinking about it.
Think about what the keeper's doing here. You have a person standing in their living room, manually filing down the edge of a ceramic pot, or gluing tiny pebbles to the rim of an artificial coconut shell, just to hit an exact millimeter tolerance.
Just meticulous detail work.
All of this just to satisfy the instinctual security check of a fish that is 3 inches long. You are playing the role of an evolutionary architect.
It revealed a profound truth about keeping these complex animals, though. Every single object in that tank is not a decoration to them.
It's a test?
Yes, is a piece of biological criteria that is constantly, rigorously being evaluated.
Okay, but imagine being the keeper in this scenario.
All right.
You've bumped up the premium diet. The male is radiating intense blues and greens.
He's glowing.
They are performing the tail-beating dance. You've painstakingly sanded down the entrance of the artificial cave so the male struggles exactly the right amount.
You've done everything right.
You've hit the 2.5 centimeter sweet spot, and still nothing.
Yep. They refuse to spawn.
The eggs aren't laid. Why? Because the fish are sensing something you can't even see.
This is where the waiting game escalates from managing physical architecture to manipulating the invisible environment.
The invisible environment.
If the visual and physical cues are perfect and reproduction is still stalled, the issue lies in the water chemistry.
The ultimate overriding factors. If the cave and the food aren't enough, you have to lock in these incredibly strict water parameters.
Very strict.
The requirements are incredibly specific. You need soft water. You need low GH, which stands for general hardness, and low KH, carbonate hardness.
Crucial elements.
The pH has to be dialed in strictly between 6.0 and 6.5.
Narrow window.
And the temperature needs to hover right around 26 to 28 degrees Celsius.
Yep.
And finally, to top it all off, there is a culinary escalation. You have to swap out those daily, high-quality pellets for live or frozen food to really force the issue.
This transition from physical to chemical manipulation is where we cross the line from basic animal husbandry into full-blown ecological simulation.
So, what does this all mean for the listener? Because when I read this list of demands, the exact pH of 6.2, the 27-degree temperature, the live food, it felt like trying to artificially synthesize a perfect spring afternoon inside a sealed room.
That's a great analogy.
You are manually adjusting the barometric pressure, tweaking the humidity in the air, and serving up a live, home-cooked meal, all to force a romantic mood.
The level of control required is nearly identical. To understand why these invisible triggers are so vital, we need to dive into the mechanics of what those chemical parameters actually represent to the apistogramma.
Okay, lay it out for us. Let's start with general hardness, or GH.
Right. GH measures the dissolved minerals in the water, primarily calcium and magnesium. Carbonate hardness, KH, measures the water's buffering capacity, its ability to resist changes in pH.
Got it.
By aggressively driving down the GH and KH and dropping that pH into an acidic 6.0 to 6.5 range, the keeper is doing something incredibly specific.
They are mimicking the hydrology of the Amazonian rainy season.
Exactly.
Because when it rains in the rainforest, millions of gallons of fresh water dump into the river systems.
Yes. Rainwater is essentially distilled water. It contains almost zero dissolved minerals.
Ah, I see.
When the rainy season hits the Amazon, it massively dilutes the mineral-heavy river water, causing the GH and KH to plummet.
So the water gets super soft?
Exactly. Furthermore, the rivers flood their banks and spill into the surrounding forests. The water steeps in decaying leaves, wood, and botanical matter.
Like a giant tea bag.
Yes, which releases humic acids and tannins. This drastically lowers the pH, turning the water slightly acidic and often tinting it the color of dark tea.
So the fish are swimming around in our artificial tank, and until the water literally feels like a flooded Amazonian forest, they won't breed.
Right. They're biologically hardwired to wait for the rain.
That is just incredible.
Because the rainy season brings the one thing fry need, more than anything else, expansive, safe territory. A flooded forest provides infinite hiding places among the submerged roots and leaves, protecting the vulnerable babies from those larger predators we discussed earlier.
And the temperature, why is the 26 to 28 degrees Celsius threshold so non-negotiable?
Well, temperature dictates the speed of their metabolism and the incubation rate of the eggs.
Oh, of course.
If the water is too cold, the biological clock tells them that the seasonal conditions aren't stable enough. The fry wouldn't develop fast enough to survive.
So you have to prove to them it's warm enough.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then once you lock in that perfect, soft, acidic, warm water chemistry, you introduce the final catalyst.
The live food.
The sudden appearance of live or frozen food.
Which mirrors the sudden influx of food during a flood.
Yes. When the waters rise into the forest, they wash in millions of insects, larvae, and microscopic organisms.
An absolute buffet.
The sudden shift from pellets to live food isn't just about giving the parents a tasty treat to get them in the mood.
It is the final piece of evidence.
Exactly. The keeper is artificially recreating the explosion of life that accompanies the rainy season.
That's wild.
It triggers an ancient evolutionary memory that screams, the environment is absolutely flooded with food, your babies will not starve.
It's like you are standing in front of a massive vault, and you have to perfectly align a complex combination lock.
That is exactly what it is.
Click, the high-protein diet is right. Click, the cave entrance is exactly 2.5 centimeters. Click, the pH hits 6.2 and the minerals vanish. Click, a live food source suddenly appears.
And only then.
Right. Only when every single one of those tumblers falls into place, in the exact right order, does the vault open and instinct take over.
Because the fish really do want to breed. The biological drive is immense.
Sure.
But their biology has these built-in, unyielding fail-safes. The waiting game we are exploring today isn't about waiting for the fish to decide they are ready.
No, it's not up to them.
It is about the keeper systematically, meticulously proving to the fish that the environment is safe, stable, and abundant enough to ensure the survival of the next generation.
You are constantly negotiating with their survival instincts.
Every day.
It is a profound amount of work. And it really brings us back to the sheer patience and observation required to pull this off.
Absolutely.
Just to recap the incredible journey we've been tracking today for you listening, it starts with something as deceptively simple as moving from a once-a-day to a twice-a-day pellet diet.
Yeah.
That nutritional surge triggers the male's intense iridescent blues and greens, sparking the initial courtship dances and that frantic, rhythmic tail beating.
But as we explored, behavior alone is a dead end without the proper architecture.
Right. Then you have to put on your hard hat and become the architect, physically crafting a cave entrance between 2 and 3 centimeters.
The bouncer test.
And you are creating a doorway that the male must actively struggle to wedge himself through, serving as an evolutionary security check to assure the female that no larger predator will ever breach the nest.
And finally, when the physical world is perfect, but the biological lock remains shut, you have to master the invisible world.
You become the chemist.
Dialing in a 6.0 to 6.5 pH, stripping the water of minerals to maintain low GH and KH, locking the temperature at a steady 26 to 28 Celsius.
And serving up live food to perfectly simulate the life-giving floods of the South American rainy season.
It really is a masterpiece of biology.
It really makes you appreciate the intense dedication of the people who engage in this level of husbandry.
For sure.
For you listening, the next time you look at a fish tank in someone's home or at a doctor's office, you might want to look a little closer.
There's a lot going on in there.
It is not just a glass box of water and some gravel. It might be a meticulously engineered biological waiting game where every millimeter of a ceramic cave and every fraction of a pH point is the literal difference between life and nothing at all.
It truly is a fascinating process to deconstruct.
Yeah.
And, it raises a much larger, more philosophical question, something for you to mull over after we finish today.
Oh, what's that?
Consider the profound contrast at play in everything we've just discussed.
Okay.
On one hand, you have the total artificiality of the setup itself. We were talking about artificial caves, commercially manufactured pellet diets, water chemistry manually adjusted using synthetic buffers.
All in a glass box sitting in a climate-controlled living room.
Exactly. And on the other hand, you have the deep, primal, ancient biological instincts that these highly artificial parameters are trying to unlock.
The juxtaposition between the fake environment and the real instinct is wild.
It is. And it invites a much closer look at ourselves. We are biological creatures, too, carrying our own ancient evolutionary programming.
Oh, wow. I see where you're going with this.
Yet we spend our lives in modern, highly artificial human environments. We sit in climate-controlled offices, we live under artificial fluorescent lighting, we consume highly processed diets, and we interact through glass screens.
Yeah, that's entirely true.
It makes you wonder, how many invisible parameters might be subtly dictating our own moods, our behaviors, our stress levels, and our deeper instincts without us ever even realizing it?
Wow. Are we just swimming around inexplicably stressed out, waiting for our own perfect pH in a slightly smaller cave entrance?
Basically, yeah.
That is a wild thought to end on. We like to believe that we are entirely in control, that the forces shaping our behavior are visible and clear.
Or maybe they aren't.
But sometimes, as our Apistogramma friends show us, the most powerful forces dictating what we do are entirely invisible. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.